Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the impossible sight before him. 300 alien ships floated in the darkness of space, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. They appeared without warning, dropping out of hyperspace like ghosts materializing from nothing. His tactical officer's hands shook as she counted the enemy vessels. The communication channel crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect human language, cold and mechanical. The message was simple and terrifying. Humanity had 30 days to leave all their colonies, 30 days to submit to something called the Valthorian hegemony, 30 days or face complete destruction. Deho was 58 years old. His face carried scars from decades of fighting in humanity's colony wars. He had never surrendered in his life. He would not start now. But as he looked at those massive alien ships, he felt something he rarely experienced. Fear. Not for himself, but for the 8 billion humans living on Earth and the millions more scattered across 50 colony worlds. Send the message to Earth, he told his crew. Tell them everything. On Earth, President Somin received the transmission in the middle of the night. She sat in her office watching the video of the alien fleet over and over. Her advisors gathered around her, their faces pale with shock. General Taiwan, the head of Earth's military, pounded his fist on the table. "We fight," he said. "We mobilize everything we have." Dr. Jiwan, the chief scientist and diplomat, shook her head. She had spent 20 years studying alien cultures from the few species humanity had met. She knew what this meant. "This hegemony has ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years, she said quietly. "They have destroyed 17 civilizations that refused to surrender. 17 entire species gone forever. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Soman looked at the data on her screen. The numbers were clear. Humanity had 87 warships in the outer sectors. The aliens had 300, and those were just the ships they sent as a warning. If humanity fought, they would lose. If they surrendered, they would survive, but as slaves to an alien empire. "Call the Senate," Soman said. "The people need to decide." Across human space, panic spread like wildfire. Captain Mina, a fighter pilot stationed on the Indomitable, received a message from her younger brother Junho. He lived on Talos Prime, one of humanity's largest colonies. His voice shook with terror. "They're saying we might have to evacuate," Junho said through the video call. "Mina, what's happening? Are we going to be okay?" Mina wanted to promise him safety. She wanted to tell him everything would be fine. But she had seen the alien fleet with her own eyes. She was 32 years old, one of the best pilots in the fleet, and she knew a hopeless fight when she saw one. "Stay strong," she told him. "Whatever happens, we'll protect you." It was a lie, and they both knew it. In the engine room of the Indomitable, a young engineer named Hyun worked frantically. He was only 24, a genius who had graduated top of his class. Now he searched desperately for any weakness in the alien technology, any advantage humanity could use. But the data was clear. The hegemony ships had shields that blocked all human weapons. They had beam weapons that cut through human armor like paper. They had faster engines, better sensors, and 12,000 years of military experience. Hyun came from a frontier colony. If humanity surrendered, his home would be destroyed. Everyone he knew would be relocated to some alien world living under foreign rules. The thought made him sick. "There has to be something," he muttered, staring at his screens. "There has to be a way." The Terran Senate met in emergency session. Representatives from every colony world joined by hologram. The debate lasted for 3 days. Some argued for surrender. Survival was better than extinction, they said. Others demanded resistance. Freedom was worth dying for, they insisted. President Soman listened to every voice. She watched as humanity tore itself apart over the decision. Finally, on the 3rd day, she called for a vote. The chamber fell silent. One by one, the representatives cast their votes. The count was close, so close that every single vote mattered. When the final tally appeared on the screen, Soman felt her heart sink. By a margin of just 3 votes, humanity chose to fight. Admiral Deho received the order an hour later. He was to respond to the hegemony with humanity's answer. He stood before the communication console, knowing that his next words would seal the fate of billions. He thought about his wife back on Earth, his grandchildren, all the people who would die because of this decision. Then he thought about what surrender would mean. Humanity broken and enslaved, no future of their own, no freedom to choose their path among the stars. He pressed the transmit button. "This is Admiral Deho of the Terran Space Defense Fleet," he said, his voice steady. "You came to our space and demanded our surrender. You threatened our families and our homes. Here is humanity's answer. No, we will not surrender. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not bow to your empire. If you want our worlds, you will have to take them from us. And we promise you this, we will make you bleed for every inch." Light years away, High Archon Keltheris received the human response. He was a being of crystalline structure, ancient and powerful. He had lived for 3,000 years and seen countless species rise and fall. He had expected the humans to surrender. They were young, weak, and vastly outnumbered. Resistance was illogical. He felt something close to disappointment. These humans did not understand the natural order of things. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed. It had been this way for 12,000 years. "Very well," Keltaris said to his council. "They have chosen extinction. Send the fleet. Show them what happens to those who defy the hegemony." The alien armada began to move, advancing toward human space like a slow, inevitable tide. On the Indomitable, alarms sounded. Captain Mina ran to her fighter, her heart pounding. Hyun sealed the engine room doors, preparing for battle. Admiral Deho gripped the arms of his command chair. On Earth, President Soman addressed the planet. Her face appeared on every screen, in every home, in every colony across human space. "My fellow humans," she began, "we face a choice between survival as slaves or death as free people. We have chosen freedom. The road ahead will be hard. Many of us will not survive. But we will show this galaxy what humanity is made of. We will show them that we do not break. We do not surrender. We fight." Across 8 billion people, the same thought echoed. We fight. The hegemony fleet crossed into human territory. The war had begun. The hegemony chose Talos Prime for their first strike. It was humanity's largest frontier colony, home to 12 million people. If they could break Talos Prime, they could break human spirit everywhere else. Admiral Deho assembled every ship he could find. 87 warships gathered near the planet, forming a defensive line. It was everything humanity had in the outer sectors. Against them came 50 hegemony dreadnoughts, each one a floating fortress bristling with weapons. Captain Mina sat in her fighter cockpit, watching the evacuation ships rise from Talos Prime's surface. Somewhere down there, her brother Junho was boarding one of those transports. She prayed he would make it to safety. Around her, 200 other fighters formed up, waiting for the order to attack. "All ships, this is Admiral Deho," the commander's voice crackled through every speaker. "We know we're outnumbered. We know we're outgunned. But those are our people down there. Our families. Our future. We hold this line no matter what. Make every shot count. Make them remember us." The hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace. Their ships were beautiful and terrible, covered in glowing symbols that pulsed with alien power. They moved with perfect precision, spreading out in formation. No rush, no concern. They knew they had already won. Deho gave the order. "All ships open fire." Humanity unleashed everything they had. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles streaked through space trailing fire. Laser batteries lit up the darkness. The barrage was impressive, enough firepower to level a city. The hegemony shields absorbed it all. Every shot, every missile, every beam of energy simply vanished against those shimmering barriers. Not one alien ship took damage. Then the hegemony fired back. Bright beams of purple energy lanced out from the alien ships. Where they hit human vessels, metal boiled away. Armor meant to withstand nuclear blasts melted like ice under a blowtorch. The first human ship died in seconds, torn apart by weapons that seemed to ignore all protection. In 5 minutes, humanity lost 20 ships, 20 crews, thousands of people gone in an instant. Mina watched from her fighter as a destroyer exploded nearby. She had friends on that ship. Now they were debris. "Reform the line," Deho shouted. "Concentrate fire on their lead ship. All weapons target the flagship." 30 human ships turned all their weapons on a single hegemony dreadnought. They poured fire into its shields, not stopping, not pausing. For 17 minutes, they hammered at that one target. Finally, incredibly, the shields flickered, then failed. Human weapons struck the alien hull. The hegemony ship died. It broke apart in a brilliant explosion. The first alien casualty of the war. But it cost 38 human ships to kill that one enemy vessel. On the Indomitable, Hyun watched his screens in horror. The battle was mathematics and the math was brutal. At this rate, humanity would be extinct before they destroyed the hegemony fleet. There had to be another way. He studied the alien shield patterns, looking for any weakness. Then he saw it, a tiny gap lasting just a fraction of a second. When the hegemony ships fired their main weapons, their shields dropped for a microsecond to let the beam through. "Admiral," Hyun transmitted to the bridge. "Their shields have a gap when they fire. If we time our shots perfectly, we can hit them." Deho understood immediately, but timing that perfectly was nearly impossible. They would need someone to force the aliens to fire, to create that opening. Someone willing to fly directly into the enemy's weapons. "This is Captain Mina." Her voice came over the command channel. "I'm going in. When they shoot at me, hit them with everything." "Mina, no," Deho started. "My brother is on one of those evacuation ships," Mina said. "If I don't do this, he dies anyway. All fighters follow my lead." She pushed her fighter to maximum speed, diving straight at a hegemony cruiser. Behind her, 50 other fighters followed. The alien ship tracked them, charging its main weapon. Mina saw the energy building, saw death coming for her. The alien beam fired. Mina jerked her fighter sideways at the last instant. The beam passed so close that her cockpit alarm screamed. In that microsecond when the shield dropped, her entire squadron fired. Missiles and railgun slugs punched through the gap, slamming into the alien hull. The hegemony cruiser exploded. "It works," Mina shouted. "All ships use this tactic." The battle changed. Human ships and fighters began baiting the aliens into firing, then exploiting that tiny weakness. They were still losing, still dying at a terrible rate, but now they were killing enemies too. 2 more hegemony ships fell, then 3 more, but the cost was enormous. For every alien ship destroyed, humanity lost 10 of their own. The Indomitable took a direct hit. The massive warship shuddered, half its systems failing. Fires broke out across 3 decks. Admiral Deho knew his ship was dying. He ordered the crew to evacuate. "Admiral, we need to go," his first officer urged. Deho looked at the tactical display. The evacuation ships were almost clear. Another 10 minutes and they would be safe. But the hegemony flagship was moving to intercept them. If it reached those civilian transports, everyone aboard would die, including Mina's brother, including millions of innocents. "Get everyone off the ship," Deho ordered. "I'm staying." "Sir, that's an order. Go now." The crew fled to the escape pods. Deho sat alone on the bridge, manually steering the dying warship. He aimed straight for the hegemony flagship. Maximum speed. The aliens saw him coming and tried to turn away, but the Indomitable was too close, moving too fast. In his last moments, Deho thought of his grandchildren. He hoped they would grow up in a free galaxy. He hoped humanity would survive to see tomorrow. The Indomitable struck the alien flagship at full speed. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. The hegemony flagship and 2 nearby cruisers vanished in the blast. Admiral Deho died instantly, but his sacrifice bought time. The evacuation ships escaped into hyperspace. The battle ended 2 hours later. Humanity lost. Talos Prime fell. Of the 87 ships that defended the colony, only 24 survived. 63 ships destroyed, thousands of crew dead, but they evacuated 8 million civilians. 4 million didn't make it, but 8 million survived, and humanity destroyed 11 hegemony vessels. Light years away, High Archon Keltharis stared at the battle reports in disbelief. 11 ships lost. In 12,000 years, the hegemony had never lost 11 ships in a single battle. These humans fought with suicidal desperation, accepting losses that would break any sane species. "They can be beaten," his second-in-command said. "We won, did we?" Keltharis asked quietly. "They were outnumbered 6-1 and still killed 11 of our finest ships. They died by the thousands and still rescued 8 million of their people. What happens when they learn to fight better? What happens when they adapt?" For the first time in his long life, the High Archon felt uncertain. Captain Mina, now promoted to acting admiral, stood on the bridge of a surviving destroyer. She had just learned that her brother made it to safety. 8 million people owed their lives to Admiral Deho's sacrifice, but 4 million were dead. The weight of command settled on her shoulders like a physical burden. On Earth, President Soman addressed the survivors. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was strong. "We lost the battle. We paid a terrible price, but we proved something today. We proved we can hurt them. We proved they can bleed. Admiral Deho's last message to us was simple. We hurt them. Remember that. Remember his sacrifice. And prepare for what comes next, because this war is far from over. After Talos Prime, humanity changed tactics. They could not win large battles against the hegemony, but they could do something else. They could make the aliens bleed slowly, death by 1,000 cuts. Acting Admiral Mina gathered Earth's best military minds. They created a new strategy: hit and run, strike fast, kill what you can, and disappear before reinforcements arrive. Never fight fair, never stay in one place, make every star system dangerous for the enemy. Commander Kiwan was chosen to lead the new Ghost Squadron. He was 39 years old, a veteran of humanity's special forces. Before the war, he led teams on dangerous missions behind enemy lines. Now he would take that experience into space. Kiwan stood before his new crew. 12 stealth ships, each one modified by Hyun's engineering team. They were coated in special materials that absorbed radar. Their engines ran cold, giving off minimal heat. On scanners, they looked like asteroids or empty space. "We're not soldiers anymore," Kiwan told his people. "We're ghosts. We appear, we kill, we vanish. The enemy will never see us coming. They'll never know where we are, and they'll never sleep easy again." Meanwhile, a 17-year-old girl named Yeji worked in a secret facility on Earth. She was a genius with computers and artificial intelligence. Her parents died when Talos Prime fell. Now she used her pain as fuel, working 18-hour days to hack hegemony systems. "I'm in," Yeji announced one morning, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Dr. Jiwon rushed over to her station. On the screen, hegemony data flowed past. Fleet movements, supply routes, communication codes. Everything humanity needed to fight smart instead of hard. "How did you do this?" Jiwon asked in amazement. Yeji smiled tiredly. "Their technology is ancient. They haven't updated their security in centuries. They never thought anyone would be brave enough to try." Ghost Squadron launched their first mission 1 week later. Intelligence from Yeji showed a hegemony supply convoy moving through an asteroid field. 6 cargo ships, lightly defended. Kiwan took his 12 stealth ships and positioned them among the asteroids. The alien convoy appeared on schedule. They flew past the Ghost Squadron without detecting anything. Kiwan waited until they were at point-blank range. Fire. Missiles erupted from the darkness. The alien ships died before they could even raise shields. 4 minutes from first shot to last, Ghost Squadron disappeared into the asteroids before the hegemony could send help. The hegemony sent a battle group to investigate. They found only wreckage and empty space. No trace of the attackers. No idea where they went. It was as if ghosts had struck from nowhere. Humanity struck again 3 days later. Then again 5 days after that. Supply ships, scout vessels, communication relays. Every target chosen carefully using Yeji's intelligence. Ghost Squadron became a nightmare for the hegemony. They were everywhere and nowhere, unpredictable, unstoppable. But stealth attacks were not enough. Hyun proposed something more aggressive: space mines. Thousands of autonomous bombs disguised as rocks, seeded throughout likely hegemony travel routes. They would wait silently until enemy ships came near, then detonate. Admiral Mina approved the plan immediately. Within 2 weeks, humanity deployed 15,000 mines across 20 star systems. Then they waited. 3 hegemony destroyers jumped into a system humanity had mined. They appeared right in the middle of a minefield. The explosions were massive. 2 destroyers died instantly. The third was crippled, drifting helplessly until Ghost Squadron arrived to finish it. The hegemony fleet slowed down. Every jump became dangerous. Every asteroid field could hide death. Paranoia spread through alien ranks. They began scanning everything, spending hours checking for traps before moving forward. Time, humanity's scarcest resource, was now working in their favor. 3 months passed. Ghost Squadron conducted 57 raids. They destroyed 42 supply ships, 16 support vessels, and 7 destroyers. The losses were not enough to stop the hegemony, but enough to hurt them. Enough to make them angry. Then Kiwan proposed something controversial. He called a meeting with Admiral Mina. On his tactical display, he showed a hegemony refueling station. Minimal military value, but thousands of alien civilians lived there. "We hit this, we cripple their logistics for months," Kiwan said. Mina stared at him. "That's a civilian target. They're trying to exterminate us," Kiwan argued. "Every target is legitimate. We're fighting for survival." "No," Mina's voice was firm. "We don't attack civilians. That's not who we are," Kiwan slammed his fist on the table. They killed 4 million of our people on Talos Prime. When do we stop playing nice? When we become monsters to win this war, what are we fighting for? Mina asked quietly. If we lose our humanity, they've already won. Find me a military target, Commander. That's an order. Kiwan left angry, but he obeyed. The debate spread through the fleet. How far should humanity go to survive? What lines would they cross? What principles would they keep? While humans argued ethics, the hegemony prepared their response. High Archon Keltheris convened his council. They had lost nearly 100 ships to these human tactics. Supplies were running short. The invasion was supposed to be quick. Instead, it dragged on month after month. Gather the Grand Armada, Keltheris ordered. 800 ships. Enough to overwhelm them completely. We end this. Yeji intercepted the order. She burst into Admiral Mina's office, her face pale. They're gathering everything they have, she said. 800 ships. Coming here. We have 45 days, Mina felt her stomach drop. 800 ships. Humanity barely had 100 left after all the fighting. This was not a battle they could win. This was extinction arriving on schedule. She called an emergency meeting. President Soman joined from Earth. Dr. G1 brought data. Commander Kiwan stood at attention. They all knew what the numbers meant. We can't beat 800 ships, Soman said simply. Then we don't try to beat them, G1 suggested. We try to survive them. Make these 45 days so costly that they question whether we're worth the price. We make them bleed, Mina agreed. Every day, every hour, we hurt them. We make them pay for every mile of space. Kiwan stepped forward. I have a plan. It's dangerous. Probably suicide. But if it works, we can delay the Armada. Explain, Mina ordered. Kiwan brought up a star map. Deep in hegemony space, a massive station appeared. Nexus Station. It's their primary logistics hub. Everything the invasion fleet needs comes through here. If we destroy it, we delay the Armada for months. That's in the core sector, Jiwan breathed. The most heavily defended region in the galaxy. I know, Kiwan said. Ghost Squadron will take 8 ships. We'll use captured transponder codes to sneak through their security. Once inside, we blow the station's reactor. Mission accomplished. You'll never make it back, Mina said. Kiwan met her eyes. I know, but our families need time. This buys them time. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood what he was offering. His life for a chance at survival. No glory, no return home. Just a one-way mission into the heart of enemy space. Permission granted, Mina said finally. Come back if you can. But whatever happens, thank you. Kiwan saluted. For humanity. For humanity, everyone echoed. Ghost Squadron departed 6 hours later. 8 small ships vanishing into the darkness between stars. Their mission was simple. Destroy Nexus Station or die trying, probably both. Ghost Squadron traveled for 3 weeks through empty space. 8 small ships moving in absolute silence. They jumped through uninhabited systems, avoiding all known hegemony patrols. Every jump brought them deeper into alien territory. Commander Kiwan barely slept. He reviewed the mission plan constantly, looking for problems, preparing for every possibility. His pilot, Lieutenant Hana, found him on the bridge at 3 a.m. You need rest, she said. Hana was 28, a former racing champion who joined the military when the war started. She was the best pilot in the fleet, which was why Kiwan picked her for this mission. I'll rest when we're done, Kiwan replied. You mean if we're done, Hana corrected. We both know we're probably not coming back. Kiwan nodded slowly. Does that bother you? Hana thought about it. I had a good life. Fast ships, beautiful views, freedom to go anywhere. Then the hegemony came and took it all away. If dying here means my family gets to keep their freedom, then no. It doesn't bother me. Good, Kiwan said. Because we jump into the core sector tomorrow. After that, there's no turning back. The next day, Ghost Squadron reached the outer boundary of hegemony core space. This region was the heart of their empire, protected by thousands of ships and automated defense systems. Yeji's hacked codes were their only hope of getting through. They activated the stolen transponders. On scanners, the human ships now appeared as hegemony vessels. Routine patrol craft returning from duty. Nothing suspicious. Nothing threatening. The first checkpoint was automated. Sensors swept over them. Kiwan held his breath. If the codes failed, they would be destroyed in seconds. The checkpoint approved their passage. They passed through 2 more checkpoints. Each time, Kiwan's heart pounded. Each time the stolen codes worked. After the third checkpoint, they were inside the core sector. Now they just had to reach Nexus Station. The station appeared on their scanners 2 days later. Kiwan stared at the image in amazement. Nexus Station was enormous, a construct 50 kilometers across. It housed 300,000 workers. Around it, 30 capital ships patrolled constantly. "That's not a station," Hana whispered. "That's a city in space." Kiwan split his squadron. 4 ships would create a diversion, drawing the defending fleet away. His ship and 3 others would penetrate the station and reach the reactor core. Simple plan. Almost impossible odds. "Everyone knows their jobs," he transmitted to all ships. "Whatever happens, we complete the mission." "For humanity." "For humanity," his crews echoed. The diversion team attacked first. They dropped their disguises and opened fire on the outer defense platforms. Alarms screamed across the station. The 30 capital ships turned to engage the attackers. 4 small human ships against 30 massive warships. It was suicide, and everyone knew it, but it worked. While the hegemony fleet focused on the obvious threat, Kiwan's 4 ships slipped through the chaos. They docked with the station, attaching to an auxiliary port. Cutting through the hull took 12 minutes. Every second felt like an hour. Finally, they breached. Kiwan led his team inside, moving through maintenance corridors. They carried enough explosives to crack a moon. If they could reach the antimatter reactor and overload it, the resulting explosion would destroy everything within 100 kilometers. They encountered alien workers in the corridors. These were not soldiers, just technicians and engineers. Kiwan's team moved past them quickly, not wanting to alert security. Speed was everything now. The reactor room was heavily shielded. Kiwan's demolitions expert, Corporal Donghyun, placed charges on the containment field generators. Disable those and the antimatter would breach containment. The explosion would be catastrophic. Then Kiwan noticed something on a nearby display. It showed residential sectors. Living quarters, schools, medical centers. This was not just a military facility. Families lived here. Children. He thought about his argument with Admiral Mina, about civilian targets, about keeping humanity's soul intact. "Sir," Donghyun said quietly, "there are kids here, families. I know," Kiwan said. "We should abort." "Find another way." Kiwan closed his eyes. He thought about his own daughter, lost when Talos Prime fell. He thought about the 800 ships gathering to exterminate humanity. He thought about time and how every day mattered. Every hour, every minute bought with blood. There was no other way. No time to find another target. No chance to be selective. This was war in its ugliest form. Win at any cost or die with principles intact. Kiwan activated the charges himself. 30 seconds, he said. "Everyone out now," his team ran. Behind them, alarms began to sound as the station's AI detected the sabotage. They reached their ships and undocked, engines screaming to maximum power. Around them, the hegemony fleet turned, realizing too late what had happened. The charges detonated. The containment field failed. Antimatter touched normal matter. The explosion was visible from 6 light-years away. Nexus Station simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant of unimaginable energy. The 30 defending capital ships were too close. They died in the blast wave. 300,000 aliens, military and civilian, soldiers and children vanished in a fraction of a second. Kiwan's ship barely escaped. The blast wave caught them, tossing the small vessel like a toy. Systems failed. Hull plates cracked. But Hana kept them flying, her hands dancing across the controls with desperate skill. Of the 8 ships that entered hegemony space, only 2 survived. 6 crews, 37 people died completing the mission. But they succeeded. The logistics network collapsed. The Grand Armada could not launch on schedule. The journey home took 17 days. Kiwan sat alone in his quarters most of that time. He could not shake the image of those residential sectors. The schools. The children who never knew they were about to die. Hana found him on day 15. "We did what we had to do," she said. "Does that make it right?" Kiwan asked. "I don't know," Hana admitted. "But I know this. Because of us, Earth has 3 more months. 3 months for families to prepare. 3 months for children to grow up. Maybe that's worth it. Maybe it's not. But we made the choice." Ghost Squadron returned to Earth as heroes. The news of Nexus Station's destruction spread across human space. Morale soared. The impossible had been achieved. Humanity struck at the heart of the hegemony and lived to tell about it. But Kiwan did not celebrate. He filed his report and requested transfer to ground forces. He could not lead another space mission, not after what he had done. Admiral Mina read his report in silence. When she finished, she called him to her office. "You did what you believed was necessary," she said. "I killed 300,000 civilians." Kiwan replied flatly. "You bought humanity 3 months. Maybe that will be enough. Maybe it won't. But you made an impossible choice and you'll live with it forever. That's the burden of command." Mina approved his transfer. Kiwan would fight on the ground when the hegemony came to Earth. Perhaps dying in battle would ease his conscience. Light years away, High Archon Keltheris received news of the disaster. His council chamber filled with shocked silence. The humans had struck Nexus Station, in the core sector, at the heart of the Empire. Keltheris felt something he had not experienced in 3,000 years. Rage. Pure, burning fury. These humans were not just refusing to die. They were attacking. They were hurting the hegemony in ways no enemy had done in 12 millennia. They destroyed a civilian station, one council member said. They killed families, children, they are savages. They are desperate, Keltheris corrected, and that makes them dangerous. But this changes nothing. We will gather the Grand Armada. We will go to their homeworld. And we will erase them from existence. No prisoners, no mercy. Complete extinction. The Hegemony Council voted unanimously. Humanity would be destroyed. Every last person. Every last world. It was no longer about territory or resources. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. This is what happens when you defy the natural order. Earth had 90 days to prepare for the end of the world. Every person, every resource, every piece of technology was mobilized. The planet transformed into a fortress. Orbital stations became weapons platforms. Civilian ships were armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. Miles-deep bunkers were carved into bedrock. President Soman worked 20-hour days coordinating the defense. She knew the numbers. 1,000 hegemony ships against humanity's remaining forces. It was not a battle. It was an execution. But humanity would not go quietly into extinction. If they were going to die, they would die fighting. Admiral Mina oversaw the defensive preparations from the rebuilt TCSS Indomitable II. The new flagship was smaller than the original, built quickly from whatever materials were available, but it flew, and it had guns, and that was enough. She trained civilian volunteers in basic combat tactics. Former accountants learned to fire missiles. Teachers became gunners. Children as young as 15 volunteered for defensive positions. Everyone wanted to contribute. Everyone understood what was at stake. Hyun worked in Earth's primary defense center, coordinating the massive weapons grid that now surrounded the planet. Every calculation had to be perfect. Every shot would count. They could not afford to waste a single missile. Dr. Jiwon studied everything they knew about the hegemony. She searched for any weakness, any advantage. Late one night, she made a discovery. She called an emergency meeting with Mina and Salmon. "They're scared," Jiwon announced. Mina frowned. "What do you mean?" "Look at their battle tactics. They fight conservatively. They preserve ships. They avoid risks. In 12,000 years, they've never faced real resistance. They don't know how to handle losses. Every ship we destroy makes them more cautious." Soman leaned forward. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying if we hurt them badly enough, they might break. Not militarily. Psychologically, they've built an empire on overwhelming force, but we're proving that force has limits," Mina understood. "We need to make them bleed. Make them question whether we're worth the cost." The Grand Armada arrived on schedule. 800 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They formed a wall of steel and energy, advancing slowly toward Earth. High Archon Keltheris broadcast one final message to Earth. His voice was cold and final. "You were offered mercy. You chose extinction, so be it. By the end of this day, humanity will be nothing but a memory, a cautionary tale for those who defy the natural order." Admiral Mina responded from the Indomitable's bridge. Her voice was steady, almost casual. "You came expecting prey. You found predators. Welcome to humanity's home. We hope you're ready because we've been waiting for you." The hegemony fleet advanced. Humanity's outer defense perimeter engaged them at maximum range. 400 ships and 50 orbital platforms opened fire simultaneously. The barrage was incredible, thousands of weapons firing as one. The battle was chaos. Human ships used every tactic they had learned. Kamikaze runs into enemy formations. Nuclear mines disguised as debris. Antimatter bombs launched from cargo ships. They fought with desperate creativity, trading space for time, protecting Earth at any cost. The outer perimeter held for 6 hours. Then it collapsed. Humanity lost 200 ships in that first engagement, but they destroyed 93 hegemony vessels, nearly 1/10 of the enemy fleet gone. The hegemony paused. They had never lost so many ships so quickly. They regrouped, becoming more cautious, more careful. Dr. G1 had been right. They were learning to fear humanity, but fear was not enough to stop them. The alien fleet continued its advance. 3 days later, they reached Earth orbit. Planetary bombardment began. Massive beams of energy struck Earth's defense shields. The shields held, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. Hyun coordinated the defense platforms, targeting enemy ships with precision. Every shot had to count. Every kill mattered. On the ground, Commander Kiwon prepared for alien landing parties. He led defensive forces in major cities, setting traps and ambushes. When hegemony troops came down, they found humans waiting. The fighting was brutal, block by block, building by building. The battle raged for 3 days. City shields began to fail under constant bombardment. Millions retreated to deep bunkers, sheltering from orbital strikes. On the surface, Kiwon's forces fought with everything they had. Rifles, grenades, improvised explosives. They made the aliens pay for every meter of ground. But slowly, inevitably, Earth was losing. Admiral Mina called an emergency meeting with President Somin and Hyun. They met in a bunker deep beneath Earth's surface, watching the battle unfold on tactical displays. "We have one option left," Mina said quietly. "The lunar missiles." Humanity had hidden 12 antimatter missiles inside the moon. Each one was powerful enough to destroy a small fleet. They were Earth's last desperate weapon. But using them came with a cost. "The blast will devastate Earth's surface," Hyun warned. "Millions will die from the shockwave alone." "How many are in the bunkers?" Soman asked. 5 billion. Maybe 6. Soman closed her eyes. 2 billion people on the surface would die. But if they did nothing, all 8 billion would die. It was an impossible choice. The kind only leaders have to make. "We trigger the trap," Soman decided. "Better to die free than live as slaves." "Do it," Mina sent the orders. Earth's defense would fake collapse. Lure the hegemony fleet into close orbit. Then detonate all 12 missiles simultaneously. The plan worked perfectly. Human ships began retreating in disorder. Defense platforms went silent. To the hegemony, it looked like Earth was finally breaking. High Archon Keltheris watched from his flagship. After months of fighting, after unprecedented losses, victory was finally within reach. He ordered the fleet forward. "Close orbit. Prepare for final bombardment. End this." The hegemony ships moved into position, exactly where humanity wanted them. "Now," Mina whispered. The moon exploded. Not completely, but enough. 12 simultaneous antimatter detonations erupted from lunar craters. The moon itself cracked, huge pieces breaking away. The blast wave expanded at the speed of light. The hegemony fleet was caught at point-blank range. 300 ships vaporized instantly. 200 more were crippled, their hulls torn apart by the shockwave. In one terrible moment, 5/8 of the Grand Armada simply ceased to exist. The blast wave reached Earth seconds later. Electromagnetic pulses knocked out half the planet's power grid. Blast waves leveled coastal cities. 2 billion people on the surface died in minutes. But the deep bunkers held. 6 billion survived. High Archon Keltheris' flagship survived, but barely. The ancient being stared at his screens in disbelief. 500 ships. Gone. Half his fleet destroyed by one desperate trap. For the first time in 3,000 years, Keltheris felt true fear. "All ships," Admiral Mina transmitted across all human frequencies. "Attack. Now. Finish this." Every surviving human ship, every fighter, every platform that still had weapons opened fire. They did not aim carefully. They did not conserve ammunition. They just attacked with pure, furious aggression. The hegemony fleet broke. Ships that had never retreated in 12,000 years turned and fled. Some tried to jump to hyperspace. Others simply scattered. The mighty armada, the pride of an ancient empire, ran away from humanity. But some ships stayed. Keltheris, driven by pride and rage, ordered his flagship toward Earth's surface. "If we cannot conquer them, we will destroy their world," he declared. Commander Kiwan watched the flagship descending. He knew what that meant. Total destruction. Earth would be rendered uninhabitable. He gathered 50 Marines, the best fighters he had left. "We're boarding that ship," he told them. "We're going to kill their leader." "Who's with me?" Every Marine raised their hand. They used boarding pods, ramming into the alien flagship's hull. The fighting inside was savage. Hand-to-hand combat in narrow corridors. Humans against aliens, no mercy on either side. Of the 50 Marines who boarded, 37 died in the first 10 minutes. But Kiwan reached the bridge. He stood before High Archon Keltharis, the being who had ordered humanity's extinction. The ancient alien was dying, his crystalline body cracked and leaking energy. But he still did not understand why, Keltharis asked. "Surrender would have saved billions. Your stubbornness killed your own people." Kiwan raised his weapon.
"You came to our home.
You demanded we kneel. You murdered our families. You thought we would break. But you forgot something. Humans don't surrender. We adapt, we survive, and we never ever forget." He fired. The High Archon shattered into 1,000 crystalline fragments. The hegemony fleet, seeing their leader fall, completely broke. Every remaining ship jumped to hyperspace, fleeing in panic. The Grand Armada was destroyed. The invasion was over, humanity had won. But the victory was hollow. Earth was devastated, 3 billion people dead. The surface was a wasteland, 17 colonies destroyed. The fleet reduced to fewer than 100 ships. But they had won. Against impossible odds, against an enemy that had never lost, humanity survived. President Soman emerged from her bunker to address the survivors. She stood in the ruins of the capital city, surrounded by rubble and fire. "We paid a price that can never be repaid," she said. Her voice carried across every surviving communication network. "We lost billions. We lost our homes. We lost our innocence. But we proved something today.